Thank you for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. I really, really appreciate you being here. And shoot, I forgot the second name that I just seen. I will acknowledge that person once I see another comment. But I do appreciate everybody being here on this Friday evening. I came on to where we could at least get ourselves into the daily close and see exactly, what we're dealing with here as the day goes on. I'm going to be interested to see how this plays out when we get, into the closer to the flip of the clock here. I know we're within 57 minutes now, which is great, but I just want to make sure, I don't know, I want to see how we react here because I really believe we got one chance here to avoid a pretty substantial drop. Not just, this isn't an XRP thing. This is in crypto as a whole. Wow, there's a lot of people that are starting to comment now. Wow. No way I'm going to be able to keep up. Where the heck do I even start? Rocket XRP Painter, thank you so much. George, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XRP Predictor. Eric, good evening. Glad to see you here, my friend. Joseph and Jennifer Kupia, thank you both for being in Tom's Army, along with Richard and Crypto Cooter for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. Love it. Sav, welcome in. Dogbite, good evening on this beautiful Friday. It's beautiful because we're all together now. It's a beautiful thing for me. Love seeing everybody. It's been a rather hectic 3 weeks, as you guys know, and I'm not done yet. Next week is going to be another hectic one, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Let's see. Syrian, welcome in. A very trusted mod. So very trusted. And thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months as well with the XRP Predictor. Dayton, welcome, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for Daytona and Define. Thank you both for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. Jeffrey, welcome in. JK Phil, UK Phil. Sorry, there's so many people commenting. UK Phil, thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for, I think that was the I Told You So Bad. Yes, for over 1 year now. I really appreciate that. Joseph, welcome in. And thank you for being in not Joseph. I already said hi to Joseph. Jessica, thank you for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge. How cool is that? Let's see. So, getting back to this. So, I believe we're going to try here, and I say this with fainted breath a little bit, but we're going to try, and I've given XRP as much flexibility as I can on the support side. And the most flexibility I can give right now is it can come down to, like, if we continue to do this downtrend over the weekend, let's say we find ourselves in Sunday. Let's see, where would panic mode be? Right here. So that's Sunday evening, and that would put you, getting close as, like, the futures, like the gold markets and stuff are coming back on. So over the weekend, XRP's job is to avoid losing that area. At any time, losing that area means not allowing that downtrending resistance in that, like, channel. Here, let me get an arrow out. And what looks like a channel. XRP's job this weekend, because we don't want to make ourselves go crazy. It's a thinly traded weekend, and they can do a lot of maneuvering. So what we want is this resistance. See this resistance? Then it came down through here. Not much here because it never came back up. Now, we could lower this, but then I feel like we're giving it too much flexibility because then when it came back down, it held. We came through and we had some overzealous movements and we came up. Then it reaffirmed it here that this is the valid spot because they had in the second hit, look where it hit. Another one here, validating why that's such an important structure. And now breaking out of it. We just don't want to give this back. It's fine if it wants to dick around for a few days. I don't really care if it dicks around until, let's see. Even if we find ourselves way over here, as long as it took us until next weekend, but once you come so far, then you invalidate this area. That's why for me, you got to try to stay above that 228 because once you fade below that, it means you're running too sideways for too long. And the movement that I thought was going to help secure this, if it was a bullish type of movement, was right here. See how we have like this left shoulder, like down, left shoulder, head, back up. I thought when it came down here before it did, we had to come back down here. And then it did come back down here. It didn't hit it identical. But it was at 220.5 because it creates this, like, this I don't want to say it's like has to happen, but if you're trying to say this a left shoulder, inverse head, the right shoulder, you're going to want to see that defined just like this and then bounce out, consolidate. And now we have to use this as a support. We use this as a support. We're going up near like $2.95. It's not going to be as high because if we get a true point, let's just say it comes to 228. I don't think anybody's going to complain about a move to 288. So I'm just going to keep it as if, here, let's take the lowest common denominator here. Like, how low could this possibly be for the highest, low if it breaks out? So let's just say 285, knowing we have 294 potential or 298 even. But that's, worst case, but it doesn't, invalidate the structure. Does that make sense? And then I'll talk more going into what I'm thinking. Because now that I'm only talking about XRP, the XLM DGB, and then like I talk about other things, but I'm focusing on XRP and XLM because there's a huge connection. DGB, obviously, it's my baby. But then I obviously like H bar, and I can't say obviously because some of you are new, and I understand that. And I had to take a step back a few days ago because I felt like the direction, like my presentation, it's not that it wasn't good, but I felt like politics and all that was just playing too big of a role. Even though we don't have a side, it works to a weird disadvantage. So I'm choosing not to speak of politics in general like I normally don't, unless it's an economic thing. Like Jerome Powell, we had to watch, whether he's going to raise rates or cut rates. But we all know it goes beyond the president. So, and like that, there's just so many factors. So I'm trying to focus more on the things we can control and not the things that can control us, if that makes sense. So I've had to grow a little bit in that sense here, starting to realize that's what was starting to happen. And I'm trying to take more, let's just say, better situational, directional awareness while I'm doing these lives now, if that makes sense. So I want to try to break down more the reason why this is important. I'll do the intro, but I want to make sure we talk about why this is important and why this is a real stand here this weekend, that we're trying to make for this market. So good evening, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Friday, March 21st, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So here's the deal. The reason why this is so important to hold this structure and not give back, and I know Nick knows, and it goes beyond the FVGs, at least at this point, because if we fall through, I already know we're going to $1.50. There's no doubt in my mind that if this doesn't break to the top side, that we're gonna have a long, hard, stiff punch to the gut, is what I'll call it. But we need to hold the structure because we've got to make sure that, and I've drawn it out, it's a finesse, but it's a very valid, and this is just the small part. Like, you could make an argument that this entire thing right here is trying to, this was a nice big consolidation back here. This was this. I mean, you can make an argument even that this could start all the way back here, but that's the broadening wedge. So I'm trying to show, like, all right, we had this inverse left shoulder, inverse head. If this has a chance, this is an inverse right shoulder. Now, you can only deviate so much at the point it's at right now. And you got to use these bull flags that look like they're formed as bull flags. You can't start giving them back because when you start invalidating what looks like a bull flag, it really quickly starts turning into a topping reversal with a left shoulder formed head and then a right shoulder. If it just bounces up just a tiny bit and comes back down, these end up being, okay, well, we thought these patterns were starting to be bullish here, but just, and some people, this might be the first time you look at it this way, especially if you're new. But I always talk about those sneaky head and shoulders that start popping up, even though they look like nice defined bull flags, and you'll start seeing them in larger to smaller. They start doing, oh, look at that bull flag. Hey, another one. But then it, for some reason, will drag out and then drop, and you're like, well, what the fuck? What? Oh, 1, 2, 3, head and shoulders. And then if it breaks through, then you start looking at it deeper, and you're like, do I see other bigger signs of a head and shoulders? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. And then you start to say, oh my God. Well, what does that mean if it comes true? Well, I don't really want to talk about it. Like, I would choose to not start this weekend on a moment like that. But I mean, we could. You see that light blue line on the screen. I'm not going to say the number, but that is worst possible scenario. You know, if that were to happen, worst possible scenario. So now we start to say, are the smaller patterns representing the larger pattern we're seeing? And if that's the case, oh boy. You know, but like somebody said, Flo said, we haven't seen wave 5. Yes, indeed. That's why if there's going to be a wave 5, you know, we need to make sure that we don't invalidate some of these structures. You see what I'm saying? That's why I said it's so very important. Say we run out all the, I mean, look at that. That broadening wedge gets you all the way down there. And then it's like, well, what's the significance of that area? Well, I'm glad you guys asked, and we're so interested this evening. And this is why I've made a fundamental focus shift back to XRP. You know, this isn't the first time we've talked about this. And this is on a breakdown. And now we move it out a little bit, you know, because we're farther out. But we've always talked about this because it's not because we want to. It's because of, we already have it on the other one, but it's because of what level this is. This is the all-time, just hear me out. And I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying, if you look at the all-time uptrend, where we didn't fill these lower gaps in the beginning of the charts, okay, I'm not trying to scare people, but we never came and retested any of this, and that's unusual. So, let's just say, for the hell of it, the all-time uptrend, it hits, right? The all-time uptrend, where are we at right now? What month? Oh, that's like 2032. It won't take that long. Let's just say it does hit. I'll just put this here. That's 1.4 cent. Now, we can deviate a little bit and be like, okay, well, maybe it needs to go up a little higher or lower. But watch this. Just watch this. Remember the breakdown that we just showed? Where's the one? Because that's the big chart. That's the before we even broke out chart that we used a lot. Now we don't really need to use it, but we may have to again soon. Now this could get, I mean, it would get ugly if this played out. So 2.2, you see that? But that's not even in the right spot. That's not on the bottom. Yeah, see, that's kind of scary when I start to look at this. Hold on. It gets scary because, and this is kind of not where it's supposed to be. We got to make sure that this is even. Oops. What are we at about? That's yeah, okay, so over here somewhere. Let's just, so we're in the pattern now, right now. We're in the pattern. I mean, that's, oh my God. Like, look how that pushes us. Like, that pushes us right to that gap we've never filled. Like, that's why I keep saying we need to just push to the upside and never have to test this broken. You know, we don't want to break this assignment. And to me, as long as we're over $1.50, I don't even think we have to worry about it in particular. Obviously, I think there is a chance we can come to $1.50. But I mean, the problem is here too, is like we've already been exposed with XRP and Ripple. And what I mean by that is we learned a very, very harsh reality this week. And the reality is even though the case by Brad Garlinghouse saying that, oh, you know, the SEC is going to drop the case, there's still a looming thing that we can't overlook. And it's something that I've been studying a little bit. And it's that gosh darn injunction by Judge Annalisa Perez that Ripple can't sell to institutions, you know, their own agreed upon pricing. And that kind of hinders things a little bit because that's going to not allow upward pressure as much as we want to. And you know why? Because that capital is not flowing. Yeah, it sucks that we don't get that pricing, but you got to remember they're spending so much money that now maybe because they got to spend the exchange price, they're not even going to invest. And that means money not moving. So that's something that I just want to make sure that we pay attention to. You know, does that even resonate with anybody, or am I just kind of being over craziness? But then we'll get into more. I just want to hear what the audience has to say. But we'll certainly get into more. We will certainly get into more. I want to see if we're even speaking the same language. Don't forget banks making their own stable coins too. Another thing that I'm wondering about. Yeah, yep. I said my piece above. It's getting yeah, I'm trying to read as fast as I can, but sometimes, well, I'm sure you guys can understand. It gets a little hard when I'm trying to read, look at the charts, and do what I gotta do. See what James said. We're not going to see major moves until we get quantitative easing. April 2nd, tariffs go into effect. That's James. I'm glad you brought up the tariffs. That's what I was going to put in my title. I was going to put in my title about the tariffs, and that's why this was. You beat me to my own point. But the tariffs is why this could be a last chance here to make some kind of rally before the end of the month here, because April 2nd is going to be a kick in the dick again. Excuse my French. But it is. It's something we also have to ponder. Thanks, James, and also for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens, along with the fine group. I greatly appreciate that level of support. Wales, Josie Wales, thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. And then James, he said April 2nd tariffs go into effect, and the minutes from the FOMC will be released mid-April. There should be some slowing at that point. I'm assuming that's actually probably what's going to happen. And then the escrow dump, on April 1st is another thing. Everybody always says, oh, it doesn't go onto the market, yada, yada. Yeah, but we always have downward pressure on the price. Even if there's a small, we'll always have downward pressure. So, and then I hate April 1st, by the way. There's April Fools, and every station does it. Everybody buys into it except me. And I don't ever do anything towards it because, I don't know, we deal with finances. And I think by doing an April Fools, what if I came on and said something, and everybody's going to trust it, and they're not going to care it's April Fools. And I say something, and somebody makes an investment, and they lose it all based on, and then I come back on and say April Fools, but they're down fucking 70% of their portfolio, or something is missed because we're trying to play a joke like that. And then it gets taken there. I don't know. I just think it's unprofessional, even though I'm not even a professional. But I think at some point you have to have, dignity in our field. So I just don't do it, and it always drives me nuts to see all these people do it. Like me saying, "Oh my God, I sold all of my ISO." Like, what if I came on and I did a very serious video and was like, "I sold all my ISO, sold all my IoT. I seen Swift is, they're going their own way, and I think they're partnering with more banks, and the banks are making their own stable coins." And then I see JP and all this stuff, and then I see like I can't trust XRP because the ledger has these back end back root hacks that people can do to steal our money, and they're going to allow the government in. And I can't do it because of the partners with the World Economic Forum and the International Monetary Fund, and I see better opportunity here, but I can't even, I can't touch it at all. What if I did that and went off on a spout and then I was just like, I sold it all. And then I come back on the next day and say, April Fools, I didn't sell anything, but everybody else, I mean, come on. I don't know. I think the best April Fool's joke would be XRP's price to actually go up on the 1st instead of going down. Couldn't Ripple technically say April Fools on the 1st and just cut the price in half? Now, wouldn't that be funny if Brad Garlinghouse came on and said, April Fools, you really thought the price was going to stay that high for that long? I think that would be hilarious. Oh, and by the way, did you hear we just got rid of a couple $100 million out of escrow? So we just banked, and now we bought them back half price. That would be a good joke. Well, kind of sadistic. Well, anyhow, let's get back on track. So now the problem is here is if we don't hold, we come into, like we talked about, the escrow, and we come into the tariffs on the 2nd. We've reacted very poorly on the tariff talk. Every single time crypto's had a nice drop. Gold and silver, on the other hand, has done pretty well with the mining stocks every time they talk tariffs. But crypto in particular has not fared well. I still see a nice inverse head and shoulders if it can hold. But as we, we're trying to make sure we don't develop, as we talked about, into like some kind of short-term head and shoulders, and then it starts to mimic the higher head and shoulders. So this needs to play out for us. I'm just saying, like this, in my opinion, this needs to play out, because if it doesn't, we have no exertion. And if we have no inertia, we're just going to fall through. April 2nd will be good. Why would the countries want to equalize at 200% when they can make a deal to drop to 0% both ways. Because, don't you understand, it's about keeping the citizens broker. And because, like, when our president says he's putting a tariff on Canada and our citizens jump around like little monkeys, oh my God, we're actually making them pay, Canada's paying. And then, the Canadian, apes, they start jumping up and down saying, God damn it, or gosh darn it, we need to, retaliate. And then their government doesn't. And they're all, those bastards in the USA. Well, now we're both paying. The citizens are. Like, it's a slippery slope, my friend. Like, I'm just telling you, they couldn't give a rat's ass about us. So, yes, I think it's possible that everybody agrees. And then we have an all-out war because the countries are running out of money. And the best way to do it is propagate war, because that's the number one method of printing money is on warmongering. So, it can happen. That's why I'm not looking at this cycle as a normal one. And I know the levels that have to hold, and I know the reality of what can happen. That's why I've been so damn focused on this exact chart, not just the broadening one. This falling channel. I've thought about that, Flo. I have thought about that. I'm not even joking. I've thought about it. There's so many variables that go into buying that, though, that particular stock. I have in the past. But I mean, you're not wrong. I've actually thought about it. I've actually purchased that in the past and back in my old stock buying days outside of mining stocks. And like, you guys know my mutual funds with the emerging markets. So, I mean, we're in a tricky spot. So, the bottom line is we can't afford to fall out of this kind of a pattern. But it does look like we're starting to give way. I'm just not... I hate being like the bearer of bad news. But Nick's in here, so he can see what's going on. If this short term doesn't play, like this is an inverse head and shoulders here. If this invalidates it, this is going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly. Because I can already see the head and shoulders here in the hourly. And then a little bear flag that could possibly be formed here. It could get ugly. I don't want it to get ugly, but we very well could be talking tomorrow, sitting maybe at 228 and being like, uh-oh. Or even sooner. We could be at the end of this live if it wants to do something special. And really kick people before the weekend. Now that the ETFs are closed and everything's, officially closed up at 8 p.m. and after hours. It's, I don't know. As you guys know, I've not just... I'm in the market still, but I have been preparing for something bigger to happen. And, that's true because of how much, I've diversified, not just with my mining stocks or precious metals, but also having the emerging market funds and things like that, and having a CD right now and taking the easy money at, what was it, 3.85 or 4.02. I can't remember what this one was. But it's about to be renewed again. But just having money working the easy way instead of the risky way. And right now in crypto, I hate to say it, but it's starting to eat at our pockets here. Unfortunately, I don't know what's part of the path you guys are on, but the ones who are in the beginning and we were able to buy in the bear market, yeah, it still hurts though, because you're seeing your portfolio get attacked. I get that. So that wave 5's not set to hit. You can't say wave 5 is going to hit $20. If you're going to, here's the deal. I'm a straight shooter. So if you're going to say wave 5 is going to hit, you can't make an argument for $20 because you can't move more than one wave and you can't be less than the other wave. So we've already got a confined moment to what we can do here. So technically, to me, the best case scenario in wave 5 would be to take out that 679 and then maybe play off of there. But more than likely a wave 5, if it did in fact happen, would target that $5.49 area. That's just me being as straight as I can of a shooter. So James, absolutely. See, James resonates with what I'm talking about. And yeah, I could see like $4.32, but I'm just saying, I'm not going to give unrealistic expectations. Like, this is what you're looking for. No. What I'm looking for in this cycle is $5.49. If we, in fact, get the blessing that it can go up to $6.79 and hit the number, like the top of this potential, that might just validate a farther push up because we might go 679 back to 549 as support and then start pushing back up. And then it could be interesting. But in time, I don't think we just stop there. It's just you got to understand these patterns. And we have left a lot to be desired below. And I hate knowing this stuff. Like sometimes I just hate knowing this stuff. You know, I love it, but I hate knowing what is sitting out there. Like that's why I said when we were at 28 cents, like just drop through. Let's go test that 2 cent mark again and let's get this shit over with so we don't have to do it later. Because that's always been on my head. And now when we made this move up, I'm like, let's just please. First thing was let's test 91 cents and we did not. Then I'm like, please, let's just retest that $1.50 after we came back down. What did we do? We stopped. You know, within what, a few percent of it. We should have just finished going down there to at least take that out. So there are areas when you're technical like I'm not no more savvy in real life than most of you, but from a charting perspective, yeah, maybe I see something a little different. There's a few of you who see it the same, but some of you are still learning, and it's just when you see certain things start to develop, it makes you wonder. And the big thing for me has always been Ethereum. Like, how could we be on this massive cycle? And I don't think it's dead yet. That's what I mean. We have to, Ethereum's got to bounce out of this if it's going to. Because these rising wedges, that doesn't mean just Ethereum is going to get blasted. And it looks like we're about to get blasted. But it's not official yet because we haven't invalidated that inverse head. All we've done, in my opinion, is come down through a rising wedge. But that targets that 429 or 496. But that's not even what I'm afraid of. There's levels. I mean, if you want me to make you mad, I could tell you sub $100 levels, but I'm not going there. Nick can. Nick will go there. Ask Nick where he thinks the bottom is for Ethereum. We'll make him the scapegoat, not me. I'm just gonna say it's out there. You know, it's definitely out there. Oof. Ask Nick where the low gap is. I'm not saying it. Nick can tell you. I'm just gonna show you 496. Go ahead, Nick. Why don't you tell him? I don't want to be the bad guy today. Because I always think I'm talking, but when certain people are in here, they actually know what I'm seeing. Like Nick actually knows what I'm seeing. They look awful. These are weekly engulfing candles, bearish engulfing candles. There's the one. That's one of them. The sub 100, 86. Could you imagine Ethereum at $86? And that would, I'm telling you, that 2 cents for XRP, it's not. Yeah, but listen, guys, if Ethereum goes down to $86, do you really think that crypto is going to be doing good? I'm just saying you got to start to correlate things. As much as I love XRP and the ISO and IoT, that would mean that Ethereum, you know, going way down there, maybe that is how we reset things, but that means everything's going to have to follow. So, you know, after it hits certain levels, we really have to consider, like, are we just pissing our money away by holding crypto while this happens? And then we could just load up when it goes to the bottom. That's why I've been taking steady profits, but at the same time still have healthy amounts. But it's like I could be more deeply invested in crypto. There's no doubt about that. If I was secure with this, I wouldn't have put that 15K in a CD. You know, just let it appreciate over the next like year and just keep re-upping it every 2 months at whatever the best well, right now it's the 2 month that has the highest yield for some reason. But just keep doing it. But it's not done yet. That's the thing. Like, I don't want anybody to think it's over because it's not. I don't want you to go out and sell your portfolio because it's not done. And in fact, I could make an argument that maybe we are reversing in the weekly. And, you know, it's just, we could be. It's just, right now there's no upward pressure. And is that a long leg doji or is that more of a gravestone? I mean, with the way this ends out, we could argue that that's a failed reversal, but we don't know yet. We don't know yet because we still have Saturday momentum, but what's happened on Saturday into Sunday? For some reason, that momentum stops. So maybe we can get that reversal this weekend. But I don't think it's over by a long shot. When you look at the weekly, we could possibly have a reversal. And then in the monthly is where we get our most hope, like Nick said. The monthly candle, I don't know, though. That weekly scares the hell out of me. It does. That weekly does scare the hell out of me. And I look at things a little deeper sometimes. That does not look good to me. That weekly now, unless this, man, that kind of looks, see how big this top side wick is and how small this bottom side wick is? I'm telling you, if I didn't know any better, I would say that this was a gravestone dozy trying to trap us for Sunday again. Oh no, well, yeah, the hopium is trying to get slaughtered. But yeah, no, I'm telling you, something is happening. I can feel it in my gut. And I feel like we have to be observant to this because it's going to happen when certain levels are met. And it could also be the explanation of why things aren't moving in a better way. But you can't just say it's dead until it's dead. But that weekly scares me. Maybe it doesn't scare everybody else, but I kind of feel like that's not a long leg doji. I feel like there's too much time. Am I crazy? I could be crazy, but that doesn't, that, I'm sorry, that doesn't, that looks like a bearish doji. Better known as a gravestone. Other thing that pisses me off is this fear and greed index is still at 27. Like, too much hope still. So look, gravestone. No, not like. And I know it's not traditional because it's not a big I don't know, because it's not the traditional sense of it, because it's not just pulled all the way down. But I use it at a different standard here though. If there's more upward wick than downward wick, it oftentimes means it's not very good because you had a chance extending way higher, but there was no follow through. So that just means there's downward pressure on that candle. Well, I do have it on the Heikin-Ashi, Nick. So if you have it on the regular setting, it's going to look different. And I don't have it. I just have it in a general setting as well. I don't have it in logarithmic or anything. I don't know though. That to me, it I feel like there's something there. I really feel like there's something there. Like that, it feels like there's something there. I hope not. It's a very important weekend though, and it's kind of fading in the wrong direction. To end this candle today, it's heading in the wrong direction. And like I'm putting a lot of focus on XRP because if something's gonna happen, I want to make sure that we focus on it with XRP. That's what I'm saying. If this was the beginning of a bear market, then I'll start talking about every other token again. But we're not at that point, and I want to have that illusion. We're trying to hold off a more significant drop, and if we can hold it off, we're gonna have a nice rally. That's where we're at right now because we do have a nice inverse head and shoulders set up here. We're just making sure we don't fall through. Because I still see a potential breakout here. Look at the weekly, or I mean the XRP market cap. Nice inverse head and shoulders. Back testing the breakout here. Still holding on. We had a golden cross here, but we've come back through. Or I mean, we haven't come back through completely. The price action has, but the actual EMAs haven't. So I mean, we've got a potential here. It's a long ways, but over. It's just we're pushing in the downward direction, unfortunately. Can you bring up the 50-day moving average or crypto and explain to new people the past elite that if it crosses we crash? Well yeah, I talk about that all the time, James, and thank you for the $5 donation. But it's not just the fit. I don't look at it just the 50-day, yeah. But what time frame are you looking at? Like, are you looking, the shorter time frames are going to suggest that it's not looking too bad, you know? But there's other ways to look at this. Like, if you want me to be honest, like the 20 days already crossed the 50. If the 20, or I mean, if it crosses the 100. Oh, you're talking about the market. Okay. Now that makes more sense because we're about to have a heart attack event here. That's good. My audience is on point here. So the total crypto market cap, you're on point. Because the daily, as we already know, there's a death cross that's already being rejected. In the weekly, if this happens, it's going to be a bad sign. The price action right now, we already lost the 20-day, got rejected on the pushback up. If we lose the 50, then we have to come down to the 100. The 100 would automatically put us down 2.22 trillion. I don't want to say that it's telling us what's coming, but that's the sign of the angels, like giving us destitute. Like it's telling us, what do I always say about 222? For me, it means that I'm on the right track and I'm doing the right thing and what I'm thinking is right. And I have to keep trusting what I'm thinking. That's a harsh lesson right there that it actually went to 222. That's pretty crazy. By the time that 20 crosses the 50, it might be too late to get out because that 20 is not going to cross the 50 until the price action. It could come down to 2.2 trillion. You might already have run out of time. Then you might be foolish to sell because now what if it bounces off it and comes back and retests the drop? That's where they catch everybody. But look at this. Just looking at this, how we had this with this established uptrend right here on this drive, we haven't touched it in a while, have we? James, I think we're all on the right track here and we're feeling this for a reason. I think there's too much hopium in the market still. Like, look, we like broke out, couldn't find a floor, and then we finally did, came up, established a floor. Now we haven't reestablished at all. Now we're going to have to try to like stumble down and try to reestablish our base. It always happens. No. Like, I don't know, that something doesn't seem right again. Why do I feel like they want us to be exit liquidity right now for the true moment? Like the bear market of all bear market rallies I talked about for years. And well, yeah, you could back test the cup and handle. I don't have it drawn out, but it's certainly there. I can draw it real quick. Just a jank version of it. But like you have this part of it, and then it put this. Then you had the breakout, so you could technically back test. I mean, if you overextend it, it might even come down there. Or you can say, you know, we hooped around, made it fuller, came through here. But now you start talking about like these wedges that end up playing out here. So it becomes a tricky game because if you start talking the wedge form or something, then it could hit back down. But we've had a chance to break out. It was premature. And if it's going to do what it needs to do, it's got to properly, these patterns are going to have to play through. And I know for some of the new ones, it's rather annoying and frustrating. For some of the ones you bought in when, you know, it seemed like there was no way it could go down. You know, after we had substantial rallies, it can be scary because you're seeing your portfolio bleed. Hell, even for the ones who were in prior and you're seeing it come down and you're seeing gains lost. You know, that's money not put in the pocket. So that's also equally frustrating. But I mean, there's a finer game to be played here. Tom back in action, just got back to Florida from South Carolina. 10-hour drive, finally feeling like a human again. Oh my God, I hate driving in 10 hours. My head would be through the window. Appreciate your TA as always. Hope the house projects are completed up soon, sir. Go Tom's Army. It is so far they ripped out the little dining room floor and put the new or the carpet they ripped out and put like the linoleum floor we put in the living room where I'm standing. They have it in. They haven't done moldings or anything. They have to do the hallway still. They did most of the painting, but there's still next week we got to get our doors changed, not counting the 3 outdoor doors. The inside doors, they're going to do that, and the moldings and all the stuff. Thursday we're finally going to get our countertops because they you know, you have to get special machinery for the quartz countertops. I knew it was going to be a pain in the ass, but I didn't know it was such a pain in the ass and why companies are trying to always push you to get granite because they're easier to cut. But it makes sense now. So there was like a 17-day gap. I had to wait. So on Thursday, they're supposed to be putting those in. So by the end of this week, should be coming together pretty good here. They've already put the kitchen floors in and everything's set up like the counters. I mean, except the counters. And they're got to put the hood in still above our stove. But like lights are being, it's just a different kind of house. So they closed their profit and flipped long on Ethereum now. It's crazy. We are missing the fight. That's the thing. Like for me, Daniel said it. It's that macro of the fifth wave and the Elliott wave. The fact that hasn't happened, you always have your eye open to be like, well, this doesn't make sense. But also, what I'm being honest with, you could still have a fifth wave even if XRP dropped to $1.50. As long as XRP doesn't lose this broadening wedge that it's in overall, and you could drag this out for some time and get it to come down to 150 and not lose it. You see what I'm saying? Like you could actually drag it out and in time get it to come here and by the end of April and then have some kind of weird push up. So, it's a matter of time how long this plays out. I don't necessarily want to take the down route, but the more times I look at this, the more my like my brain plays things like it's an algorithm, kind of like a robot. And the more I play this out in my head, the more I see that same scenario coming. And it's not because I want it to. Man, I gotta wipe my glasses off. They are pretty, like I don't even know, dirty, because I can see like smears on my glasses, and it does make it hard sometimes. I can't see good to begin with. Let's see. Something to wipe. And I know I have my glasses somewhere, the wipes. But I have I don't know, it's winter, so well, now it's technically spring, but we went from 75 to 28 to 55 to 31 to snow to thunderstorm. It's been a crazy couple days. All right, let's see. Where did this go? Huh. Sorry about that. And I'm trying not to be too loud because my son, he fell asleep. We went for a couple walks today. And now he's on break for the next week. He doesn't have school next week. But he still got his Tuesday he's got food therapy. Thursday he's got speech therapy. And Friday he has physical therapy. So he's still got a busy week, just no school. Ooh, that's much better. A little bit better. Tom, are you looking at Ondo yet? Can't remember if you said I've been looking into it, but I haven't done anything with Ondo. I don't think I can do anything with anything anymore right now. Right now, I think I just want to see how the market starts I don't want to say manipulate itself one direction or the other, but I think there's a reason why Brad Garlinghouse came out when he did and talked about the lawsuit being over, but we haven't heard anything from the SEC. I think timing is everything. So I'm trying to see one direction or the other without trying to be biased in either direction, because I can make a strong argument that Bitcoin is going to go to 90K right now. That's why I want to see if this plays out. It's set up. Like XRP, I can make a very strong argument that we can go up to $2.85, $2.98. It's set up. Very similar to what we're seeing in Bitcoin. It is set up. So I'm hoping that the gut feeling of, hey, we can go down isn't ready yet. Like it's not ready until we get further back tests of a little bit higher. And I'm hoping that the history repeats itself from the biggest super cycle that XRP's seen, because I still consider that a super cycle when it goes up thousands and tens of thousands of percent in one cycle. That's a super cycle in comparison to normal cycles. It's the one that stands out. And if it repeats itself, it's still warring. It's still moving in a way that it did in 27. Like there's nothing I'm afraid of in this chart except past moves that we haven't tapped. Other than that, where we're at on the chart right now, I'm actually good. That's why I keep saying this is a very important weekend for us for trajectory, because there's some nice inversions here that if they play out, it's going to net us some nice gains and yields and profit. Like in a week or two, if this plays out in our favor, we're going to be sitting here saying, all right, like these inverse head and shoulders played out, Yeah, yep. I love it, Nick. See, now you've made relevance, or you put credence into where I put the 228. Remember what I talked about at 228, Nick? It has to hold that this weekend. Because you know as well as I do, if it goes past there, then it's going to come up and use that area as a bearish FVG, and we can't have that at $2.30 in the 4-hourly. It can't happen. If we get that as a bearish hit, it's over. There's always reasons behind where I push. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't think I mentioned that at all about the $2.30. Spot on. So we can't, there's just certain things we can't lose. Just like we can't afford to fall any farther from right now. Because if we're looking at this as a bull flag, we've basically drawn our limit here. Like now we're just trying to, trying to beg it. Because you can't come down much farther than, whoops. Like even if you want to look at it like this, eventually you're going to have to pull up, right? Because if you come too far, even if we're looking at this, then all of a sudden it turns into, oh my God, it was a bear flag. And that's what I don't want. And then it ends up being like a short-term head and shoulders that was trapping us. So I know there's different variables that we have to look at, but I like talking deeper like this. I hope you guys do too. Like I like looking at this stuff a little bit deeper instead of just saying, oh, this is how the chart looks, this is how it is. I like to go beyond. And based on the fact that 176 of you are still here, I think some of you are looking at this the same way I am and understanding that this moment in time is very important. Not for the 100% future of XRP or crypto, but for the short-term trajectory. Because if the short-term trajectory is to cut us in half, I don't really want to be part of a lot of that. I could find a lot of things to do with that 50% and then just buy back in what I had already and just take that money elsewhere if that was my plan. I can see a lot of things to do outside of that. I've been very honest that I've taken so much profits. Hell, it is the way it is. But I still have a lot of holdings. Like, there's no doubt about it. And it's going to be a cold day in hell if DGB forces me to do what I don't want to do. But it's about to, because that bear flag, I'm just saying, it's getting to a point now where now it's becoming testicular. Do you have the testicles or the balls here to just give it up? If this breaks down, I'm telling you, this has been a target of mine. It's even lower than what I was thinking. This has been a target if it broke down for a while. I mean, do you really want to be... Because as much as I say I'll just buy it all the way down, I think I would rather just sell it and have 34% more DGB. Yeah, you got a percent, maybe a couple of percent each way when you sell out on certain exchanges. But, I mean, this is not starting to materialize in a way where I'm getting a little less comfortable here and starting to realize like something worse is starting to transpire here than we even want to acknowledge. Like there's a reason why this is happening. And then when you start to take it and you start to like breathe a little bit and just be like, all right, let me take it all out. Let me take the emotion out of it. Let me just look and be like, what the fuck is really happening? And then you're like, oh, that's what the fuck is really happening. Oh my God. And then you're like, oh my God, did we just break below it? No, I'm just an idiot. So now we got to remeasure it. But you get the point remains. And then you can be like, oh, is that a descending wedge? If it is, you better damn well make sure you don't fall below it. I could argue. We can make arguments here. Does everybody see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? Like, we can make arguments here that something ain't right. This ain't right. Like, we start making the argument. We start making the case, and then we start to be like, oh, fuck. And the M2 money flow, yes, I understand that as well. All that money's going to be flowing back into the markets, but where's the price going to be? It almost seems like they're setting us up for one big kick in the ass. I expect we're still going to have a wave 5, and I expect most of this is just fear. But the reality in front of us is it's starting to point to maybe the real thing is they're playing 5D chess on us because they know some of the smart ones out here that made the true gains are going to try to see through it. And maybe the game's on us now. I've thought about that this cycle too. Like, oh, it has to be this way or it has to be that way. What if they're like, oh, these guys think they're too smart here, and now we're going to play a little game on them. And we're going to put all this stuff out in the news where they think they're playing these games, Jekyll and Hyde. They think they got these smart people, the Riddlers and stuff like that are on TikTok and YouTube and you know, Instagram and X and all this other shit. Well, the truth is we riddled the fuck out of them. No one's doing nothing, and we're going into a crypto bear market until 2028, and we'll see you later. Because that is what it's starting to look like to me. And they're going to say, the hell with the wick off. That wave 5 didn't need to happen, and we just proved it. So, yep. This is why I'm here. Tom's mind getting out of my mind, Tom. Yep. The XRP riddlers are so annoying. Indeed, they are. Indeed, they are. CBCN is up 30 now. Wow, I seen it when I came out. It was up 12. Front runner, maybe. But the crazy thing is, do you remember where my buy signal was when we got back up to 2? I mean, it came all the way back down here and filled it out. So front runner, maybe. But it also shows that a lot of the market still needed to have one more down, because this has been an overzealous drop, or it could just be behind how the market had that nice rally. We'll see. We'll certainly see how this plays out. Obviously, we created some resistance here, but maybe it is a front runner. Maybe it is, but ZBCN's a little different just in the way it rallies and stuff. So some were thinking that yesterday with MXC. Remember, it got up, had a nice rally. Now today it's down 10%. So everything that seems to have a rally just gives it right back. So would I be surprised? I hope it's a front runner, to be honest with you. But unfortunately, what keeps happening here is once they have a big run, they have a bigger drop down. So I can't decide. I can't decide. I'm glad to see something's up. 30% is no small move. The resistance here that it's coming up to just from past history. First one's going to be at the 0013. Second one's going to be at the 00144. So just if you guys are watching that, pay attention to that. But we're winding down here. I'm going to have to go here shortly. It's been a pleasure to be here with each and every one of you. I'm glad we were able to do this on Saturday. I almost wasn't able to do it, but I managed to dig my table out of the whole corner. I had to move some stuff, and I was crypto Wendy, she's annoying as fuck. I can't do it. So much. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna say anymore. But pops up on, yeah, I can't do it. Another one who tries to sell so much shit you can't even tell what's up or down. It's all merchandise, baby. All merchandise. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. There's been the good, the bad, the ugly, but the truth has been shared here. My truth, your truth, our truth. I would like to see some big bullish news on Sunday. We need it. Because we still have these beautiful, and look how beautiful this inverse head and shoulders is. Like literally, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. And it's not that that's why I keep saying before we say it's over, we have to make sure it's over. Because we could even have a drop. You wouldn't really want to drop this far, but I could make the argument. Remember I said the patterns like to set up identically? If you played the algorithm in your head about what's different about this pattern, one thing, boom, 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 boom. Level it off. Whoops. Level it off, and there's your inverse head. Your inverse left and right shoulder. So what's missing is a more well-defined imitation of the left side of this pattern, because I often think if it's a trading bot, you have to have the same algorithm. So that's what I think's happening. Even if we're bullish, I think it's going to do something like that if we break down. That's why I said this could be a last chance, because it's going to be a harsh one. And you can get that big reversal. And that, I think, would play out better. And, like, just think about it. Like, if it looked like that, wouldn't it look better compared to the left side and play it through? So, you know, that's just some of the things I'm seeing here. So I might be crazy, but I do see, like, assuming we don't hold on this week, and I can see a quick 10 to 15% drop in the market. And still these inverse patterns are still perfectly set up. I'm trying to illustrate it through XLM as I'm leaving, but hopefully that makes some sense. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Thank you so much for the $2 donation, James. I can do sunny days right before I leave. So I'm gonna do this and then I gotta go because Julie's in the room. Her foot's been really sore, but I want to go check on my son because he was sleeping. But ladies and gentlemen, before I go, we have to do this. For some of you who have never seen this, this is gonna be interesting. I've been doing this since I started back in 2021. Whenever people get sad before that initial bull run we had in 2021, ladies and gentlemen, I know what time it is. Do you know what time it is? Ladies and gentlemen, the sunny days are here again. Oh, sunny days. Oh, what a day. Oh, sunny days. Oh, what a day. I wear glasses 'cause I can't see a motherfucking thing. Happy days. Oh, happy days. Oh, what a day. Oh, happy days. Oh, what a day. XRP will reign supreme. Let's just not get caught in the FUD. Oh, we're gonna crash and we did and we will and we won't and we did and we may and we might be in the process. Oh, yeah. Stay true. Stay blessed. Don't ignore the truth. But try to avoid the bullshit. Man, I don't know what happened to him, but he looks kind of different today. I kind of like it. He's got some nice shoes on. Looks like he's about to go boxing. Oh, I love it. Have a good night, everybody. What a way to end. What a way to end. Put him up, eh?